Number 10. Caffeine, the energy loan shark. At 7 in the morning you crawl into the kitchen like a zombie looking for brains. But instead of brains you are looking for a cup of hot bitter bean water. You tell yourself that this gives you energy. But that is a biological lie. Caffeine does not create energy. What it does is much more sinister. It is a master of disguise. In your brain there is a chemical called adenosine, which is basically your body and Oppo's way of saying, hey buddy, are you tired, go to sleep. Caffeine enters your system and blocks the adenosine receptors. It is like the low fuel light turning on in your car dashboard, and you, instead of getting gas, decide to cover the light with black tape and keep driving at full speed. The problem did not disappear, you are simply ignoring it. While you feel falsely awake, your brain keeps accumulating fatigue in the background. And when the caffeine wears off, all that accumulated adenosine hits you all at once. That is why at 2 in the afternoon you feel like you have been hit by an invisible truck. Basically, caffeine is a predatory lender. It lends you energy now, but when it comes to collect the debt a few hours later, it breaks your legs with a tiredness interest rate of 200%. And what do? You drink another cup. Because apparently anxiety with tachycardia is what we call productivity nowadays. Number 9. The master scam. If caffeine is a loan shark, nicotine is the most successful pyramid scheme in chemical history. Smokers and vapors swear that nicotine relaxes them or calms them down, but that is a complete illusion. Nicotine has a dirty trick. It creates the problem it claims to solve. Smoking or vaping does not make you feel good, it simply temporarily stops the urge to scream that the previous dose caused. It is the chemical equivalent of wearing shoes 2 sizes too small all day just to experience the immense pleasure of taking them off for 5 minutes. You are not gaining happiness, you are just renting brief moments of normalcy at an exorbitant price. It works like this. You inhale and in seconds dopamine spikes, giving you a brief sense of control. But nicotine is a cruel lover with a very short half-life. Around 2 hours later, that well-being dissolves and your brain panics. You feel tense and restless, not because the world is stressful, but because your brain is throwing a tantrum for its chemical pacifier. And do not even get me started on vapes. We have taken a deadly addiction and repackaged it to taste like tropical mango or iced watermelon. Now instead of smelling like an ashtray, you smell like cheap bathroom air freshener while inhaling solvents. Basically, you are paying a monthly subscription to be a slave to a USB device that allows you not to feel miserable. Without nicotine, the world looks gray. Not because it is gray, but because you have broken your own ability to feel pleasure without outside help. Number 8. Cannabis, the magic plant. There is always someone at the party who says, it is natural bro, it is medicine from the earth. Sure, snake venom and poison ivy are also 100% natural, but you do not see yourself rubbing them on for fun. Cannabis works because THC disguises itself as chemicals your brain already produces called endocannabinoids. It is basically an imposter that walks into your brain and Oppo's control booth and starts hitting buttons at random. Suddenly your perception of time breaks. 5 minutes feels like 5 hours. Are you convinced you have solved the mysteries of the universe and quantum physics? But actually you have been staring at a bag of potato chips for 45 minutes trying to decide whether to open it or worship it as a god. At low doses it is all giggles and music sounding amazing. But if you overdo it, your brain decides everyone hates you or the police are hiding inside your fridge. Paranoia takes over. You turn into a scared animal thinking its own heartbeat is too loud. And in the long run, cannabis turns you into a human goldfish. It affects your working memory. You start a sentence with a brilliant idea, but halfway through you stop because wait, what were we talking about? You think you are a deep philosopher, but you are just a hungry guy who forgot where he left his keys. Number 7. Benzodiazepines, the time machine. Drugs like alprazolam or diazepam are sold for anxiety, but their users know their real superpower is teleportation. You take a pill on Friday night because you are a little stressed, you blink once, and suddenly it is Monday morning. You have no idea where you are, why you have a traffic cone in your living room, or why your family is no longer speaking to you. This happens because benzodiazepines boost GABA receptors, which basically tell your neurons shut up and sleep. The fun side effect is anterograde amnesia. Your brain stops recording new memories. You are a functional zombie. You walk, talk, and make terrible decisions, but the hard drive is not saving anything. It is literally the skip intro button of real life. You have a tough problem, take a benzo and skip it. The problem is still there when you wake up, and now you have a new one, an addiction that forms in weeks. And be careful quitting cold turkey, because withdrawal is so brutal it can cause seizures. Basically, they silence your body and oppose. Fire alarm, but let the house burn to the ground while you sleep happily on the couch. Number 6. MDMA, borrowed happiness. Known as ecstasy, this drug is an expert at making you believe you love the entire universe. Suddenly you are having deep conversations with strangers in a club bathroom, and petting a brick wall seems like the most spiritual and tactile experience of your life. You feel connected to everyone. The world is beautiful, and your jaw is so tight you could chew through a brick. This happens because MDMA grabs your serotonin, stores the happiness hormone, and empties them all at once, like squeezing a tube of toothpaste until it explodes. For 4 hours you are a sweaty being of light who believes world peace is possible if everyone dances to techno at the same time. But here comes the fine print of the contract. That happiness was not free, it was a bank loan with predatory interest rates. When the party ends, your brain is left completely dry. You have spent all of next week and Oppo's happiness in a single night. Comes what users call the come down or the gray days. You feel empty, apathetic, and miserable. Not because something bad happened, but because your brain chemistry is bankrupt. You will literally find yourself crying on a Tuesday afternoon because you dropped a spoon or because a cat food commercial seemed too emotional. Number 5. LSD, unplugging the router. If alcohol turns off your prefrontal cortex, LSD unplugs your reality router and reconnects the cables at random. Users call it opening the mind, which is a fancy way of saying you are going to completely scramble your perception of who you are and where you are. With a microscopic dose, your brain starts glitching in fun ways. Suddenly you have synesthesia, the only time in your life you can hear the color blue and taste the flavor of the number 7. The problem is this trip lasts between 8 and 12 hours. It is a full-time commitment. Once you get on that roller coaster, you cannot get off. Even if you decide halfway through that you no longer want to watch the walls breathe. It is like playing Russian roulette with your sanity. The quality of your experience depends entirely on your setting and mental state. You could have a spiritual epiphany and feel one with the universe. Or you could spend 10 hours curled up in the fetal position, convinced your toaster is conspiring to steal your soul. The irony is it does not create physical addiction. In fact, tolerance is so fast that if you try to take it 2 days in a row, it simply does not work. It is like your own brain saying, "No thanks, I have had enough crazy for this week." But be careful, because for some the trip never fully ends. There is the risk of hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, where you keep seeing weird visual patterns months later, or simply wake up a latent psychosis you did not know you had. Number 4. Alcohol, the social solvent. This is the only poison on the list you will get bullied for not consuming. We call ethanol social lubricant, but it is actually a nervous system depressant that shuts down your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain in charge of telling you, hey, maybe you should not dance on top of the table. Basically, you drink to silence your inner designated driver and let a drunk monkey take the wheel. At first you feel euphoric and confident because alcohol releases dopamine and removes your inhibitions. You think you are the funniest person at the party, but actually you are yelling instead of talking and repeating the same story for the 5th time. Then comes the biphasic effect. The more you drink, the worse you feel, but your judgment is so impaired you think more alcohol will fix the problem. And let Oppos not forget the blackouts. Alcohol blocks NMDA receptors, preventing your brain from saving new memories. It is literally a time travel trip to the future, where you wake up with a deadly headache, a mysterious tattoo, and a photo gallery on your phone that will ruin your reputation forever. In the long run, you are trading your liver for fat and increasing your cancer risk. All for the privilege of sending embarrassing texts to your ex at 3 in the morning. Number 3. Cocaine, powdered ego. If you have ever wanted to feel like the king of the universe while having the personality of a used car salesman at 3 in the morning, this is your drug. Cocaine does not make you smarter or more interesting. It simply tricks your brain into thinking you are. It works by blocking dopamine reuptake, which floods your reward circuits. The result is an instant and artificial inflation of your ego. Suddenly you think you have million-dollar business ideas and talk endlessly with absolute confidence about topics you have no clue about. You become the most confident person in the room and coincidentally the most insufferable to everyone else. But cocaine is a short-lived scam. The effect lasts very little, and when your dopamine drops it plummets, leaving you anxious, paranoid, and desperate for another line. It is basically renting the personality of a god paying with the health of a mortal. While you feel invincible, your heart is suffering a physical panic attack. Your arteries constrict and your blood pressure skyrockets. It is the most expensive way to turn into a paranoid person with heart problems, peeking through the blinds every 5 minutes waiting for the police. Number 2. Methamphetamine, the decay accelerator. If caffeine is a bank loan, methamphetamine is selling your soul to the devil in exchange for the energy of 1,000 dying suns. This drug enters your system and reverses dopamine transporters, lighting up your brain like a nuclear Christmas tree. Suddenly you feel invincible, euphoric, and with laser hyperfocus. You think you are the most productive person in the world, but from the outside you are not a genius at work. You are a guy with wild eyes who has been dismantling his microwave for 12 hours straight at 3 in the morning because he thinks the government is spying on him through the timer. It gives you unlimited energy to do absolutely useless and repetitive things. The physical price is basically a body horror movie in fast forward. Since the drug eliminates hunger and sleep, your body starts consuming itself. You lose weight, your teeth rot and fall out the famous meth mouth, and your skin fills with sores. Why? Because the psychosis makes you believe you have bugs crawling under your skin, so you scratch until you bleed. It is the most efficient way to turn into a paranoid skeleton that has forgotten how to feel joy without chemicals. Number 1. Opioids, the embrace of death. Heroin, fentanyl, oxycodone, call them what you want. These are the heavyweights of self-destruction. They work by hijacking receptors in your brain and spinal cord to block pain and generate a warm euphoria. At first, users described the sensation as a total safety hug, like returning to the womb. But that warmth is a death trap. Your brain is stupid and decides to rewrite its survival priorities. Suddenly, the equation changes. Food, water, air versus opioids. The drug literally becomes as necessary to your body as oxygen. If you try to quit, withdrawal is a physical hell of pain, diarrhea, and panic where you feel like your own bones are trying to escape your skin. The scariest part is respiratory depression. Opioids relax you so much that your brain simply forgets how to breathe. There is no gasping, no struggle, you simply fall asleep feeling incredibly peaceful, and your body decides breathing is too much effort. It is like a soft, warm blanket that wraps you with love while it slowly suffocates you until you turn off forever. That is all for today. If you liked watching how we turned neurochemistry into a horror movie, share this video with a friend. I will be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.